So it's currently 3:45 a.m. Maybe 5 or 6 hours removed from the Usyk versus Fury rematch for the unified heavyweight title in Riyadh. Wow, great fight. Wasn't as exciting as the first fight. There's probably a few reasons for that, which we'll get into. But I think the judges got it spot on. I had it 8 rounds to 4 for Usyk. Clear winner in another competitive but not necessarily close fight. I think at the time of watching the fight, I was texting one of my boys back and forth, and I was like, "Yeah, it's close, or it's tight, and it's a tight affair." And certain rounds can obviously be scored either way, kind of thing. But my final score ended up being 8-4, and sort of looking back at some of the rounds and stuff, it wasn't a close fight. It was a competitive fight again, similar to the first fight. The first fight wasn't close. This wasn't any closer in the sense that the scores were still the same. Very similar to when Usyk faced Joshua the first time. He beat him 8-4 or 9-3. And the second fight, Joshua was more competitive. It was a very different looking fight. Joshua was better, but when the score it came down to the scores again, I had him losing 8-4 again. So pretty much same outcome. In this fight, the fact that Fury didn't get knocked down is probably what helped him, because if he got knocked down, it would have been 116-111, which is what I scored the first fight. I did 8 rounds to 4. With the knockdown, you take a point off of Fury in the first fight, so it's 116-111, which is a competitive fight. It wasn't close. This one, Fury obviously tried to stay in the center more and keep it at a certain pace and a certain length. Took a little while for it to sort of get going. Fury kept his right hand tight. Obviously didn't do any showboating, didn't do anything silly. He got hit with a lot of body shots, and that's one thing I have to call out now. He was getting peppered with body shots from round 1 through to round 12, which had an effect on him again after round 6, where 4, 5, and 6 he looked like he was doing well in spurts, and then after that, clean sweep for Usyk, peppering him head, body. Fury had moments, but nothing of note where I can say, oh my god, he's he's going to swing the fight or something's going to happen. You didn't really feel that at any point, and you felt like there's only going to be one winner, because Usyk always takes over at the end. So 9, 10, 11, 12, you just knew Usyk was going to do him, and then he was landing 4, 5 punch combinations, 3 or 4 body shots in a row in combination, like I said, and Fury wasn't having that type of success, and he looked tired, and he was getting repeatedly hit with the left hand again. So it was a clear winner once again. There's no controversy in that. People online crying, saying, "Oh, it was a robbery," and that Fury should have won more rounds and this and that. The reality is, look, he's just not good enough. Yeah, what I mean by that is he's not good enough to beat Usyk. Yeah, he wasn't good enough to beat him in the first fight, and he's not good enough now, and he wasn't going to be. That's the reality of the situation. He wore his shorts up to his nipples as well. That's another thing. The guy who said, Usyk wears his shorts high, and that Dubois hit him with a clean body shot, which was actually, deemed a low blow, in that fight. This guy has his shorts up to his nipples, so his whole abdomen's covered. And he also hit Fury with 2 or 3 low blows tonight. He hit him in the back of the head once or twice, and he elbowed him once as well. So I'm not saying Fury is necessarily a dirty fighter, but he tried a few things, yeah, or a few things happened in there, which sometimes it happens, but he just isn't good enough to beat this guy. And I'm glad, because Fury was not the guy for this era. It was Usyk, and I'm glad that Usyk put that to bed tonight, and that Fury will never be the guy. Oleksandr Usyk is the greatest fighter of this era, any weight class, across the board. He's done it the last 10, however many years you want to call it. He's the greatest fighter of this era. There's no argument in that. People online are crying. People, on Instagram are crying about it in comment sections in my DMs, saying, Usyk's not actually that good. He's not an all-time great. He's not this. He's not that. The guy's beating guys who have 20 to 30 to 40 pounds on him, especially Fury. He had 40 plus pounds on him both times. Not once did he look in trouble. Yes, he might have got buzzed once or twice in the first fight. This fight didn't get hurt once. Took some big body shots. Apparently he's got a weak body. He's got a glass body. That's his problem. That's his kryptonite. He can't take it to the body. How many big body shots does Fury land tonight? He landed some decent shots. Didn't do anything. Didn't slow him down. Usyk peppered the body from round 1 all the way through to round 12. Not once did the commentary acknowledge that, which is an absolute disgrace. The commentary on Sky Sports, DAZN and TNT, from what I'm hearing about DAZN and TNT, was an absolute disgrace. We watched it on Sky Sports, me and my cousins. Terrible. And from people that I know and respect in the boxing world, just terrible. The Fury media bias all week from the British media establishment in boxing has been absolutely disgraceful. Shame on everyone. Oleksandr Usyk went in there, tore up the script, and thankfully, for once, boxing got it right. And what I mean by that is there wasn't any sort of silly scorecards. There wasn't a scorecard in favor of Fury. There's no way in hell you can score 7 rounds in this fight or the first fight to him. The first fight, somehow someone scored at 7-5. Complete disgrace. That person's a disgrace. And thankfully that didn't happen this time, because 8-4 was my score. So I've got no argument. I can't see it any closer than that. Maybe someone can give it 7-5 Fury. Maybe. And that's fine. That's your opinion. But, sorry, 7-5 Usyk. You can't give 7-5 Fury. It didn't happen. He got outlanded by about 60 punches. Maybe more, depending on which stats you go by. And he threw 80 punches more and still got outlanded by about 60 to 70 punches. So it just shows how much accuracy-wise he was off, and Usyk was on it. So there's a clear disparity in levels between these two as well, as there is with everyone else and Usyk, by the way. Same with Dubois, same with AJ. Fury's in that same camp. He's just not good enough to beat this guy. And that's okay, because he's an all-time great. Put him in any era, he's going to compete. And he's got a very unique style, so he'll do well, which I don't understand why people are arguing this with me in my DMs. Some people are just very emotional. A lot of people who don't normally watch boxing have obviously fallen into the trap all week of Fury's glaze and his eyes and his I'm coming to do damage and I'm a fighting man and all that business. He got in the ring and it didn't happen. So it doesn't mean anything, basically. But I do want to give some respect to Tyson Fury, because he came in and I feel like he did put in a better performance in the sense that how he wanted to fight his fight, he managed to do it to an extent, but eventually Usyk's just too good, so you can't really hate on Fury for that. He's just in there with a guy who he cannot compete with. You couldn't compete with him here in either one of these fights, and you can't compete with him here. He's not on that level anymore. And people can sit there and say, oh, maybe 2-3 years ago Fury would have beat him. You could do all that, it means nothing. And even then he wouldn't have beaten him. Usyk's just too good for him. But respect to Fury. He's been a great servant to the sport in the UK. He has messed around a lot and held the division up, and didn't take the right fights at the right time. People can say, oh, other parties had caused those problems as well. But Fury for me has been a big cancer to the heavyweight division from the time he won it in 2020 against Deontay Wilder, to when he lost it in May. Maybe cancer is a bit of a strong statement, but what I mean is he's always caused problems. How is it that he's only ever beat 2 world heavyweight champions in Klitschko and Wilder? How is it they didn't fight anyone else with a former world champion or someone of note? How is it that he only ever fought Wilder 3 times? Dylan White, who was his mandatory, and then decided to rematch Derek Chisora, and then fight a 10-round exhibition against an MMA fighter in Ngannou. He wasted 3 or 4 years of his career there. I appreciate that he got a lot of time wasted in COVID and he had to rematch Deontay Wilder. I get that. But if he knew he was on the clock, why didn't he take better fights afterwards? Or try and, get the most out of his ability. Do you know what I mean? So it's a shame, because I was a massive fan of Tyson Fury. People think I hate Tyson Fury. I don't hate him. I dislike the fact that he didn't do what he was capable of doing and go on to achieve more. That night in Dusseldorf was one of the best moments for me in boxing when he won. Because I was picking him to beat Klitschko. He did it. Then he had his problems. That's fine. Came back. One of the best comeback stories in recent times. When he smashed Wilder in Wilder 2 and 3, I was very much a massive Fury fan. It's his behaviour after that and the antics and holding up the division that bothered me. But guess what? Within 7 months, Usyk's put that to bed. Fury can go home and cry and say he won both fights. It means nothing, because you didn't win, mate. But you made a lot of money. And you are a 2-time world heavyweight champion. You may even become a 3-time world heavyweight champion if you carry on fighting the next year or 2. But I think the only fight left for him now is Anthony Joshua at Wembley. Or 2-fight deal, Wembley and Riyadh, if they want to hang around and do that. Same for AJ. I think this is the only fight, or a 2-fight deal that makes sense for him. They both accomplished everything. They've both been 2-time world heavyweight champions, and they both lost to Usyk twice. He is the guy. He's the man, the myth, the legend. It is what it is. I think in the fight he showed again that will and desire to win, and he ran away with it at the end as well, putting together great combinations, showing that grit and determination, and fighting a guy that much bigger. But yeah, Fury was solid tonight. Usyk was just that bit better, a lot better. But yeah, 8 rounds to 4, solid scorecard. I don't think anyone could really argue with that. The judges got it absolutely right. There was only one winner on the night. And Fury doesn't need to feel ashamed. He just lost to a phenom, a generational talent, an all-time great, and that's okay. And I think Usyk should retire. I thought Daniel Dubois was a bit of an idiot. I'm all for the next generation, him having a sense of pride and wanting to talk more now that he beat Joshua, because that was a big win, and he's sort of established himself as one for the next generation. Pardon me. But getting in the ring while he's doing an interview and just jumping in and behaving like that, whoever put that idea in Dubois' head, whoever it may have been, that was a silly move. But Usyk said, Turkey I'll shake, make that fight. So maybe we will see Usyk versus Dubois if Dubois gets past Parker. I'm picking Dubois to smash Parker, by the way, but you can't be overlooking Parker like that. That's disrespectful to him, and it's, if anything, is disrespectful to Daniel as a fighter for him to even be thinking that way, especially because he's young and he's quit twice before. You don't know what he's capable of mentally if he capitulates. So I was disappointed in Daniel Dubois. I thought it was disrespectful. I thought it was silly. He's made himself look like a fool. You don't jump in and interrupt the man of the era who beat you, by the way, made you quit. You don't do that. So that was silly. But yeah, Frank Warren lost his head, shrugging and shoulder rolling and bringing the scorecard into the ring, saying, how did Fury only win 4 rounds? I don't understand. He knows his man lost, but he has to push the agenda. It's fine. That's his job. He's just doing his job, as Roy Keane would say. That's his job, right? So fair play to Frank. That is what it is. But it's funny to see the generational head losses everywhere. From all fight week on Twitter, seeing all the people losing their head when I was saying this, that, the other about Fury, and now the head losses that are going to be going on for the next 2 weeks, and the mourning in the British media establishment now is going to be crazy for the next 2-3 weeks, and the propaganda pieces are going to be crazy. So I'm just ready to laugh at those and sort of argue with people online. It is what it is. But I love this sport, man. I love boxing. I love everything about it. It means the world to me, and it makes me feel alive. So I'm just glad that I lived in the time where I got to see a generational all-time great in Oleksandr Usyk. I got to see him live in the first fight as well. I was there in Riyadh. I'll never forget that moment, seeing him crown the undisputed heavyweight champion after the first undisputed heavyweight champion in the Fort Ball era and the first undisputed heavyweight champion since Lennox Lewis. That's some serious company to be in. And then he went and solidified it again by shutting down Tyson Fury's rematch and winning it clearly again. He's just that good. He's just that good. So yeah, there's so many other things I had in my head that I wanted to say, but it's so late. Early in the morning at this point. What is it? 4 something a.m. on Sunday the 22nd, I believe, 22nd of December. So yeah, we're getting close to Christmas. At least Fury can say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So yeah, it was a good fight. Not as entertaining as the first because it wasn't as action-packed, but like I said, Fury came to do his thing and not get embarrassed this time, but he still lost clearly, unfortunately for him. But yeah, credit to him for doing his thing and playing his part. He made Usyk work for it. I'll give him that much credit, definitely, for sure. He deserves that, and he's been a great servant to the sport, whatever may be next for him. As much as, I don't like his antics, he's done his thing and he's brought people to the sport. And he's made a lot of money for himself. And Oleksandr Usyk, I would prefer he just retire. He hasn't got anything to prove to anyone, but if he chooses to hang around, then we get to carry on witnessing his greatness for a little bit longer. Let me know your thoughts below, and I'll catch you all soon.